On here with another brand new tutorial. So on your roadmap to learning or becoming a guru in data structures and algorithm, there's one major thing that you need to understand on how to manipulate data structures. And so my focus today will be manipulation of array. So we'll go through array methods that you need to know so that you can data structures and algorithm for you. Even if you're given a test for that, it can be easier for you. So allow me go through a series of array methods. I'll be using JavaScript to show you how they work, and basically I hope you'll get to learn something out of it. Yeah, so an array is an object or a data structure that is used to store multiple items or multiple values. We can call them a collection of elements in a single variable. So that's basically in JavaScript, you'll see it being done with two brackets. So that will be the initiation of JavaScript. So without wasting your time, today I want us to use a different tool here. So you can just go onto your Chrome and type play code, and then this first link that will appear here for JavaScript play code, just tap on it. This one will help us code and learn easy and fast. So I just like this tool. So let's open the playground and then tap on JavaScript to create it. So we'll see two screens here for view and for the console, but basically we'll be using the consoles. So for for the console, or if you're using the view, let's say if you're using the view, array method. Let me just show you something. Yeah, so this one will update it. We don't need to run it again, so that will help us go as quick as possible. Yeah, so this is much easier. Let me now use the console. So here is where we'll be printing our arrays, or maybe our results. Let's see, call it result. So in case I want something like I've created a constant. Yeah, something like that. So it will be printing here, and you see it prints immediately. Even if I try to edit it immediately, it will do an update on that. So this is a live tool that I'll be using to take you through all this tutorial. So let's go direct into it. Let's check on the number of arrays you can check, maybe for about some few minutes. Within minutes, we see how many we can cover. So there's so many, but I'll try to cover as much as possible. So the first one, let's check the first array method, which is called art. So where do we use art and how do we use it? So this method will take an integer value, and then it will return an item at that index from an array. So it will allow positive and negative integers. And then if you just put a negative integer, that will count back from the last item of an array. For example, let's say I have my array here. Let me call this one now. Let me change this one to an array. Say I have an array of item. Say 5. I put something like this one. Yeah, something like that. So in JavaScript, you can put this semicolon, or you can also avoid it. So it's not a requirement for year 6. So we can say, for example, I want to find an item at index number 2. So I'll just say this array. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll just pick this array and say I need an item at index number 2. So it will count 0, 1, 2. So I'm expecting an 8 as an output. So let me just say here, I initialize this to result, or also I can just directly print this, but let me just use a result so that my codes become much clean. So if I put this result, you'll see that the index of the array at the item at index number 2 is 8. If I say at index 0, you'll see my console will print 5. If I say at 1, should be 12. Yeah, so array at, this one will help us find an item at a particular index. Yep. Number 2, let's go to array.concat. So concat method. Allow me do this. Yeah, we'll just get rid of this and then I show you the second one. So you can play around with the codes together with me. I don't want to confuse you a lot, so allow me just to be deleting it. So the next one, number 2, is that we avoid repeating the methods. Let me just say that. So number 2 is perfect. So number 2 will be concat. So let's check on concat. So what does this do? So the concat method is used to merge 2 or more arrays together, and also you can add an item using that, but the best use case of it is to concat 2 arrays, and it will not change the existing array, but instead it will just return a new array with a new output. So for example, let's call this one array 1, and then we have another array here. We say array 2, and then we give it maybe 0 and maybe 7. Yeah, something like that. Let's do this. Maybe say here we have, which number is not there? 9. Yeah. So I want to get my result. So I'll just say my result. My result will be, let's say I want now array 1, and then I want to concat it with array 2. Yeah. So I'll just pick that. And then if I output my result, you'll see now it has taken the first array up to 44, and then it has concated it or joined it with another array or merged it with my new array. So that's the second method called concat. Let's check out the other method, method number 3. Just give them our numbers the way we go. So let's check on copyWithin. So what does this copyWithin do? For example, assume I have an array here. Just comment these two. Assuming I'm having an array here, an array of let's say I have the numbers from maybe A, B, C, let's say D, let's say E. Yeah, something like that. Just an array of those letters. So for example, copyWithin, what this one will do, it will allow us copy some part of an array or an item from an array to another location in the same array, and then it will return it without the modifier in its original length. So it will just give it without modifying the length itself. So let's check out this example that we are having. So for example, how this method is done, you just have to the argument that this method requires is so what this method will require is, one, you'll give it a target. Which item are you targeting, and then start from which index, then end at which index. So having this in mind, what we can say is, let's try with this. We say this array, our result, maybe let's say our result is an array 1, then copyWithin. So what's our target? So maybe we say we are targeting letter A or letter B. Let's say we target B. That's index number 1. and then we want to copy from which. So where are we starting to copy from? So let's say this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say I want to just copy the third one, the third D, which is array array index at 3. So you can say start at 3, and then where are we ending at? So you can say maybe, let's say, let me try end at 4. So you'll see what it has done. It has picked our array, our second item in the array, which is at index number 1, and then it has gone to index number 3, and then it has picked this letter D, and then it just picked D alone because we said start from 3 and end at 4, so it will not pick at 4. If we say pick at 5, it will now pick D and E, but now it has just picked D and then replaced it where B is. So copyWithin can copy an item from another location to a new location based on this variable. Let's try, say, from 5. What will we have? So you'll see, if I say from 5, it will now pick D and E, and then pick this array and replace it where we have B, and then it won't change the initial. So it will be A and then DE and then DE again. So it will pick the 2 and then replace it within this without changing the length of the array. So you see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, and then also here we have 5 items. So copyWithin is our third method. Let's try master this stuff up. So let's go to the next method. Let's check out the entries. Let's check out the entries method. Or maybe before that, let me check the join. Let me check the join. I don't want to repeat it, so let me just go alphabetically. So let me just check the entries as our number 4. So entries, what does this do? So this method will return a new array iterator object that will contain the key value pair of each index of an array. So within our array, if you're having an array, let's say this our array here, let's say this array number, this array A, B, C, D, and we want to just get the entries. So if we say arrays.entries, let's see what is an empty. This is an empty function. So if we just say we want that array then to get an entry, so this is an object, so meaning it has items within it, but you can't see it. So if we just want to get, you can say within those entries, because it will return an object, you can say maybe let's see the values within those because now this one will return our iterator. Let's say maybe a new iteration, which is the same way we can just call it another or a new array, or maybe a looper, or maybe something which will just give us that. So let me initialize it, and maybe say we call it what? Maybe say we call it maybe we say the entry array, or entry iterator, or something like that. So that carrying this, we can say if I want, let me not say results, maybe I just want to output, so I can just say take this entry from that, and then when you go to the next, you can print the value for me. So you'll see it will just try to pick the key value from our array, and then from there we can try go to the next. So if we say this one, you'll see it will pick the first, the second, that way going down. So it will just pick at array number at index 0. At index 0 we are having this item A. At index 1 we are having this item B. At index, so it will just give us the key value. Best way to explain it is maybe if you have multi-dimensional array, you say for an array object, the multidimensional. We say we have this guy here who is age 23, age 23, and then maybe his gender is male, something like that. Let me just try to see, play with it. Yeah, so we say that. So for example, if I want to just get the entries, let me just try print the entries only without all these other stuffs. So if I just print the entries, now I won't get what I want to unless now I do a for loop, because I just want to display this item and show all the items. So for more on that, you can comment down there and let me know if you want to see more of that. So that but that one will at least give you, it will help in maybe if you want to create a for loop or something like that, because once now you get those elements, you can loop through and see wherever you have. For example, here, for example, if you are having that, let me just do an example so that at least you can get a good, let's just create a for loop, and then in this for loop I'll initialize my element and say maybe out of that element of this entry of this iterator, I want you to console log my value, or maybe console log my element. Let's see. So you'll see out of that, what will happen is whenever it goes to here, it will try to print our element. It will try to print our element. How is that done? So it will just, because now you have these entries created as an iterator of this value key value key key value key value pair. So it will just try to print them as the way they are. You can see it perfectly. The first one is it will print the key and then print the value. When you go to number 2, it will print the key and then print the value. So these entries will help us get the various array, or it will give us a key value pair formatted array of the previous, or our action point, the array that we're trying to convert. No, so that was a tough one. It was a tough one for us to wanted to get it very clear so that we go to the next. So let's jump into the next. The next one is the every method. So let me check on the every method. So the every method, this one will test whether the elements are in an array pass a certain test provided by maybe a callback function, and then it will return a boolean either true or false based on that argument. For example, assuming I'm having my array here, let's say I'm having an array like this. Just guess an array like that, and then let me say now my result will be sorry, let me remove this. So assuming I'm having an array like that, and then what I just want to know is I want to create a result. So I want to use this every. So I'll check through this array, through my array. This one does not have to be the name array. For example, you can say numbers or whatever thing of my array. It's just whatever name that you want to name that. So mark that so that you don't have to call it array. So you can say out of that, I want to go through all of these and maybe see if a certain condition is passed or something like that. So I'll just say that array dot every, and then Oh, all right. So I'm getting a warning here that I'm getting a warning that I can't pass some lines of code on this platform that we are using. So just allow me do this in a second. So allow me just call this because I have a limit of 8 lines of code before I can so I can just say this. Yeah, sorry for that. So sorry for that. So every so we can say out of every, so it will expect us to give it maybe a callback and say maybe in every of that, so test whether uh, an array passes this condition. So for example, I can say maybe out of these I want to take each element, for example. So take each element and check for me if this element is maybe greater than 5 or greater than 6. Let's try 3 out, let's say 5, 3 out of that. So if I console log these results, if I console log that result, so you'll find that out of every element, not every element has its value greater than 5. So that one will give us a false. But if we say all elements have its value greater than 0, that will give us a true. So it will look through all these elements and check if this element passes this condition that we have set on our callback function. So that's how we use elements. On to the next method. So the next one on the list will be the next on the list will be filter. So we'll check out array filter. So what will that do? So this filter method will create a copy of a portion of a given array, filtered down to just the element from a given array that pass a test implemented by the callback function. So we can filter maybe items with words maybe less than let's do it in an example. I say here I want to filter an item or an item where the length of the item, or even say this one, item are greater than 5. I just want those items which are greater than 5. So array filter will go through a filter and then check and filter the items which are greater than 5. If I say greater than 6, you'll see the changes it will filter. So you can also say the length of a word, or maybe if a name is an email or whatever. So this is just to filter. Now the normal filter, the way we just do filter, we select a certain item that meets a criteria out of an array. So on to the next one. The next one will be find. So find method will return the first element in the provided array that satisfy a particular function or maybe a particular callback. So let's say you want to output an element which is just greater than 6. Yeah. So if we just say this one dot find an element which is just greater than 6, we'll get 8. If we want to say maybe just find an element which is an element which or maybe say an element which if you divide by 2 the answer will be 0. So it will just go through the element and find an even number, a number which when you divide by 2 probably it will just give you a 0. So it will just go to the first one and find this one. Or maybe say find an element which if I divide it by 4 by 2 it will give me 4, for example. So that is 8. So it will find the first element that is that will match our criteria. So that one will only return one result or one element out of an array. On to the next one. Let's check findIndex. We see how this one works. So number 8 is findIndex. So this findIndex basically will find the index of that particular output. For example, this is the function I want to output, so I can find the index of this item is 8 years. It is at what index? So this will return the index of the first element in the array that satisfied the provided testing function. So if no element satisfies the function, so it will return -1. So if I say if this one maybe I want an item like that, an item which when you divide by 2 it gives us 89, because it's not there it will give us a negative value. So that's it for find index. From there we'll just check for each. That's a very key function to check. So how do we use the for each? So this for each is just a method. It's called a high order method, JavaScript array methods, which is execute a loop. So it will just execute that provided function once for each element. Yeah, for example, I can say for each of these array, yeah, do something. So for example, let me just say for each of these array, maybe for each of these one, maybe pick just have a callback function here. Say the item, let me call it x, and then say console.log my x. Maybe say my x is equals to maybe x, something like that one. Maybe x is equals to x. So at each of these elements, it will be printing, it will be logging the this statement that my x is, let's say my x is equals to and the value. So it will just go over or loop through these items and then output my value here. So that's the same as doing the for, the one we are doing the for each loop in JavaScript, but here we have a very simple way of looping through the items. So the next one will go to includes. Number 9, includes. So what does this one do? So include a method determines whether an array includes a certain value among its entries, and then it will return either true or false. For example, if you want to know if this array has maybe my array, for example, does my array includes maybe a value number 6, for example, that is true. So that means our array has 6. But if we pick a number like, let's say, which number is not here? Let's say 3. 3 is not there, so it will just give us a false. This array doesn't include this. So even if it's a text or something like that, you can still say if this one maybe is can still say this one I have cat. Maybe in my pets I have cat, dog, maybe lion. Or lion can't be a pet, yeah? But anyway, then I say I have maybe a chicken, and then I say does this one include a rat, for example? That one will be false. But if I say does this one include a dog, that's true. Does it include a cat? That's true. So that's how we use the include. So you can use the include to check for an item in an array, and that one will basically be in place where you want to do mostly when you want to do data structures and algorithm, you'll find it a lot of times. So the next one, number 10, which I feel is much usable, is the join method. So how does the join work? So this method will create and return a new string by joining or concatenating all of the items in an array. Yeah, so it will pick all items and then concatenate them or join them into one item. So for example, I want all of these, all of these pets. Let's say these are my pets. So I want all of these pets, yeah, to be combined into maybe into a text. Maybe I don't want an array. I want it to be joined maybe as a text. So I'll just say maybe join the entire array, join them one by one following each other. So you see how my result will be. It will just give me cat, dog, lion, and cat, yeah, for example. And I might want also to join them maybe with a key like that. Maybe I just want to hyphen them, yeah, to create maybe a name, or maybe use an underscore, just create a name, or maybe even leave it without anything, or maybe use a comma, or maybe use a full stop to join them. So the parameter that it's apply here is what will be used to join those array items. And so that's it. So the opposite is true. If you want to kind of create an item from an array, we'll go into that. We'll see it very soon. Let me just continue. So also you can, the same way we are getting result, you can also get keys of an array, and maybe iterate the same ways we are getting these entries. So under entries you can get keys, and also you can get values, yeah? So you can say number 11 you can get keys, that this one might be, and then number 12 you can get values. So the same way we are doing entries is the same way. For example, if we have these items and then we say I want here to have my iterator, let's say I want to have my iterator here, and then I say under this iterator just want to pick these pets, and then I say take the keys for those pets, take all the keys and save them there. So if I do a for loop and try to bring them, so I'll just say for each key, or maybe for each key of this iterator, maybe just console log. So you can just say console log the key itself, yeah? So if I do that, you'll see it will try to go on and print all the keys, key number 0, 1, 2, 3. But if I say I want the values, you'll see it will print now the values: cat, dog, lion, and chicken. So that's how keys and values go hand in hand with these entries method. And now on to the last, to the next. The next I want to look at is map. So how do we use the array map method? So array map basically is used to create a new set of array populated with a result or a new set of result, calling from a function. So in every element of an array we can loop through and then call it within a function. For example, let me use numbers here to make it much easier. Let me just comment this so that you can use it later. And then so I've noticed that this IDE or this online platform, for the free version, or maybe for the free version you can't go past 8 lines of code. So that this one you can just use it to as a playground to just play with it. So let's say I'm having here an array called scores, and maybe say 1, 2, 5, something like that. Yeah. And then I want to do something. I want now to use the array map to maybe loop through. So I can say my result will be, maybe let's say this course, I want to multiply them maybe to get the percentage or something like that. So I just want to get, I want to map and find them as percentage. Maybe I say now map through that. I pick an item, for example, I want to pick the element itself. This one you can call it element. And then out of that element, maybe pick that element and maybe multiply it by let's say multiply it by 100, or maybe say this one, the total, the sum is maybe is out of 10, so I say 10 then times 100 to just change it into percentage and then return that. So if I say console log my result, you'll see 1 comes to 1%, blah blah blah. And then also you can give it as a, you can say maybe you want it to be something like this. Let me see if it will give me what I want. I think we can also do this. Let me just try it out and then maybe say percent. Yeah, you see that? So the only problem is changing it into text, because now I've concatenated with the percentage and say maybe the first one is 10%. So it will still give us an array, but now a modified kind of an array. So it will just tell us this is 1 is 10%, 3 is 30%, because we equated it to out of 10. And so that is how we use array map. So you can use it to get a new set of an array from a particular original array. So I think that's important. Let me know if that one helped or that one is key to you. Now let's move into the next method. So the next method is I can go to pop. So the next method is pop. Let me look at pop. So what does this pop do? So the pop method in an array is used to remove the last element from an array. So for example, if I'm having this array of let me use that array of my pet. So if I'm having these pets here, and then I want to remove the last item from it, so I'll just say that one slash pop, and then that one will pick this last item, which is chicken. And also I can pop it and then return the original array. So if I return pets here, you'll find that it will come without the chicken, so I'll have removed this chicken. But also I can get this item that I've removed. So if I want to get that item, I can also do that. So it will return this item that I've removed, but at the same time it can give us the original array without that item that we have removed. Yeah, so many a times you'll use this pop and then you forget that you can still find that one item that you removed from the array. Yeah, so along with that we have a lot of methods that go in line with that, like array push. So push will just do the opposite of pop. So instead of removing, we can push another item here and say maybe we have fish in our list. Yeah. So if you output that, you'll find that if you output that and then say so if you print the pet itself, it should come with a list of this new item called fish. So you just see it like it has just added this new item onto our list, and now we have 5 items instead of 4 in our list. Yeah, so push can be used to insert an item at an array. So I don't know the best use case that you can use it, but just to add an item into an array, you can use. And also you can do multiple items. I can just say I want to add 2 items. Maybe I want to add maybe a dove and a fish. Yeah, so you can still do that. You can add 2 or multiple items onto the array. Yeah, so that's it. So let's check another interesting array method called reduce. So how does reduce help us? So basically reduce will execute reduce will just pick a value from an array and then pick all those values and return one value that you want to return. For example, I can pick this example of this array that we had here, the score. So I might want the total score out of this. So what I can just do out of this, I can say now out of my scores, you can reduce and give me the total of this score. So let's say I'm having my element here, and then I want to pick that element, and let me give it an arrow function and say this element. So 2 values here to be picked. First is the accumulator, and the second one is the current value. So I'll just say out of the accumulator, just add the current value, and then because it's an array method, what I'll just do, I just return the same way it is, and say maybe accumulator plus the current method, which will give me the result. And now if I print this result here, you'll see that it will take all the sum of all this. I hope it's 21. Let me reduce it so that we can easily see. So that plus that is 9. Yeah, so we should give us the sum of that. And also you can do a multiplication on the same. So you can decide to get a cumulative value out of these arrays, and that's where now we use reduce. So that one will basically reduce the user supplied array into one value. So that's it for reduce. Let's check out the next. Array method. So the next one, which I feel it's much helpful, is the reverse. There's an array method called the reverse. So how do we use the reverse? So for example, if I'm having this one 4, 5, 6 going up there, I can reverse this. I can reverse this array by just doing the score versus reverse. So that one will basically reverse an array of an item, or just pick those items, and so the first item will become the last and the last item will become the first one. So it will try and reverse the entire array. So you see, like for example, this one is started from 1 to 6 and then it reversed it to 6 to 1. So that's it. Pretty cool and pretty nice. At times you're told to maybe reverse a word or reverse something like that in data structures. That should be a very good array method to run to. Yeah, so out of that, let me check another array, which is another array method, which is shift. So how does shift help us? So the shift method basically removes the first element from an array, and it returns that removed element. So it's opposite, like you remember the same way we used pop. Yeah, I think we had pop somewhere, if I'm not wrong. Maybe we had pop somewhere, so maybe I lost that number, but we had pop just before push. I think we had pop. So I can just repeat that and say maybe pop. So we say that these if I say array.pop, it can give me it will remove the last item from an array. And so if we say shift will do the opposite. It will take the first item from an array. And then he said if now we print the original array, we'll find the array without the first element. So you'll find from 3 going ahead, and then it will just pick the first one and remove it from an array. But also it will return that item here. So if you print this result, it will give you 1, and if you print the original score, it will give you without that 1. So shift and pop are doing the opposite one. The first one, the shift is removing from the first, and then pop is removing from the last one. Yeah, so let's go to the next one. The next method is slice, which I like to use it so much. So let's check this one out. So what does slice do? So this slice method will return a shallow copy of a portion of an array into a new array object, selected from maybe say a start to an end. The same way we were using. There's another method we were using to find from the start to the end, to replace an item. Yeah, copyWithin. Yeah, we used copyWithin to, yeah, I think this one, number 3. We used it to with the same start and end. So what you can do, for example, I want to let me use this item, for example, here, and then I want to slice, say 2. Yep, say 2. So the expected values here onto our slice is the start and the end, from where we are slicing from. So let's try put a start to maybe, let's say 1, and then 3. We see the result, how the result will be. Sorry for that. So you just say pick these pets and then slice from 1 to 3. So it will go to index number 0, 1. So it will pick dog and then end at lion, and then give us that as the result. So it's like picking a portion of these. For example, if you want lion and kitchen and chicken, we'll just pick from maybe 2 to 4. So that one will pick lion. It will go 0, 1, 2. Then it will pick from index number 2 and then pick 3, then stop before 4. So that's it. So that's how slice is used to get some portion of an item from an array. So let's check one easy one, which is a sum. So this one we just test whether at least one of the element in the array passes the test, at least one. So if an item inside the element passes, it will now give us a true. If none of that condition is true, then it will give us a false. For example, let me use this. Let me traverse through this and use the score. So if we say the score, and then we say the sum of these ones, so it will pick an arrow function or a callback. For example, we want to know, and this one will pick our element here. So if we want to know if our element, maybe say we want to find the remainder out of an element, we want to see if we divide it by 2, will it give us 0? So it will try the first one. 1 divided by 2, 0, no. So go to the next, but when it reaches to 4, it finds a true value. So it will say the entire stuff is true. At least some of them, if we divide by 2, at least we'll get a 0 into some of them. For example, let me say if we add a 2, let me use a simple one. Say if in these elements, each of them, if you add a 2, at least we'll have one which will give us 3. So that one will give us true, because 1 plus 2 of course is 3. Yeah. But if we say if we add all of them to 2, it will give us 34. That's a false, because there's no item here which will add 2 to it, and then it will give us 34. So it checks if there's some of these element, or maybe say if sum of this one is equals to 2, for example, we can say elements in sum of it, do we have 3? So it can also be used to just kind of filter or kind of find an element, an occurrence, and then give us a boolean if it's true or false. Do we have an item with marks of maybe a score of 5? Yes, true, we have. Do we have a student with a score of maybe say 7? No, we don't. So that's how we can use the array sum method. So the last one which I want to check is the sort method, because now we are at 20. So let me give you one bonus one, which is sort. So sort, this is a method that used to sort an element from initial, order an element either in ascending or descending order, but the default one is ascending. So if you want to get the opposite of it, I'll show you how you're going to do it. All right. So let's say, for example, I want to sort these alphabetically. Let's start from the score. So I want to sort this score. So let's say I just want to sort this score. So let me just do the default one and see how the result will be. So you see, it's 1, 3, blah, blah, blah. Even if we put maybe 8 here, maybe something like that. This one is not ordered, but the result that we're finding is an ordered list or an ordered array. But that one now ordered in an ascending order. What if someone asks, let's try and order it in descending order? So for example, there's a way you can pass a callback here. Let's say A and B. Those will be our values, the first and the second comparative values. And then if you say that I want, if you say you want A minus B, yeah, equals and is equals to 1. You see that? Maybe say A minus B, A minus B, or A. There's a way you can. So if you're comparing, yeah, that's called a compare function, which we pass inside the any callback that we pass inside the sort is usually called a compare function. So you can Google compare function in JavaScript and see how it works. Sometimes it's challenging. So if you say A and B, if you sort A before B, that one will give us at least a value of 0 or greater than 0. But if you sort A before B, if you sort A after B, that means it will give us a greater than 0. But if you sort A before B, it will give us less than 0. And if you keep the original order, it will again give us the same value. So let's try this and say that one, A minus B is equals and is equals to, or maybe A plus B is greater than 0. You'll see it will kinda arrange it in a descending order. Yeah, that means if you want to order it in a descending order, you can have that function here. And I think the opposite is true. If we say A minus B, if we say A minus B is A minus B, so it should be greater than 0. So A minus B equals and is equals to -1. Okay. So what we'll do, sorry, I'm forgetting something here. So what we need to do is we need to return something. Yeah, that one already is giving us a result. So what we just need to do is check this one out and say maybe if if a minus b is maybe if a minus b is less than b, uh, and so you can say by default if a is less than b, if a is less than b, if a is less than b, and then this one you can return negative 1. I'm basically trying to just explain uh, what Yeah, so guys, that's how we use the first 21 methods, array methods, that I thought is helpful for you in your development. So that's how we use them. Let me know in the comment below on which one you want didn't understand, or which one I didn't explain it well, or which one you find confusing, and then we can have a chat and conversation down there. So thank you guys, continue supporting and continue watching my channel, and let's give it our best and try to see if we can be if we'll be of course we will be Java gurus or JavaScript gurus ASAP. Thank you guys, see you on the next tutorial.